Good evening. This is the Community Partnerships Committee. I'm Chairman William Rosell. To my left is Councilman Jeff Schilling. To my right is Todd Sievert. We have two actions tonight. The first one is to provide a recommendation to council regarding transferring property at 19 East Ray Street to the CIC, the fire station, I guess 11 now, originally the station 1, to the community CIC. Mr. Tittert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we are asking that council authorize the transfer of that property, the old fire station. We are getting nearing completion. We expect a move-out date at end of May, early June, into the new station. And so to dispose of that property as an economic development project, the staff recommended to the CIC that they accept the parcel and sell it through a broker or realtor on the city's behalf. The CIC agreed to do that with several recommendations, if you will, or requests that the sale price be of not less than $500,000. The history on that is that several years ago, 3 years ago, we had a commercial appraiser give us an appraisal of the property. It appraised at $440,000. We went back to that appraiser and asked him if we should get a new updated appraisal, and he told us we should not bother, that appraisal is still good, because if you know anything about appraisals, they use comparable sales, which are difficult to come by, especially in a unique property like this. And so the $500,000 represents over a 10% premium over that appraisal, and everybody felt that was a fair amount. Similar to the process that was followed between the city and the CIC with the Hewells Camp, or the North Duke Park farmhouse property, the CIC agreed that the president, vice president, and secretary of the CIC would select a broker. That broker would have his or her commission capped at 3%. Let's see what else. With regards to the net proceeds, which under these scenarios would be $485,000, the CIC is recommending that they retain $50,000 in their account so that they can assist with future economic development projects in partnership with the Troy Development Council. Staff and the CIC agrees with this as well, recommends that I want to say $250,000, but I want to get a better number from, it's either $245 or $250, be part of a reappropriation ordinance to transfer to the fire department general fund budget for the purpose of pre-ordering the next medic. That is on the capital plan for purchase in 2023. Vendors have told us that if we are going to order something in 2023, that we should not expect it until probably late 2024. The medic, we run our medics hard and long, and so since we have these proceeds, we want to order it now if we can. And then the remainder would be returned into the general fund balance to help us offset some of the slight inflationary concerns that we have been experiencing. And if you didn't recognize that on the record for the minutes, that was sarcasm, so that we can assist in addressing some of the overruns that we're seeing in our capital bidding. I believe that's it. We are not asking for emergency legislation.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Sievert?
I don't have any of it.
Mr. Schilling?
Don't have any questions, no.
Council members that are here? Audience members that are here? Choices to
Move forward. Move forward.
move forward with legislation?
Excuse me,
Yep.
I missed this. We are asking for emergency legislation so that we
For
can
the
can
ambulance?
close. They really need to bold this for me.
It's still move forward with emergency.
Yeah.
Move forward with emergency.
We all
Make sure
need
that's on the record. Thank you.
All right, our second item tonight deals with the City Safety Director making an agreement with the Troy Strawberry Festival to cover the festival dates of June 3rd to 5th as a notwithstanding legislation. And this is also requested emergency legislation, correct?
Yes.
That is correct, I see that here. We are asking that the council authorize me to enter this agreement for 2022. The Troy Strawberry Festival would return not only for Saturday and Sunday, but also have the Strawberry Jam on Friday night. This would be the notwithstanding legislation that you have historically passed. Some of the details about this year that most of which are the same as in prior years, but with a couple of exceptions. Downtown area, venue area would be the Public Square, the Quadrants, Prati Plaza. We would go out to Franklin Street, North Market Street to Water, East Main Street all the way to Mulberry Street, and West Main out to Plum. We would close some of the side streets so that we could have some area for vehicles to be stored. We would close the roads to traffic 6 p.m. on Thursday evening on June 2nd. We would open no later than 7 a.m. on Monday morning prior to work traffic on June 6th. North Market would be closed from Water Street to Staunton starting at noon on Friday, June 4th. There would be access to the Senior Citizen Center and the parking lot of the North Market Street ball fields. We would reopen that area by midnight, June 5th. The event hours would be Friday, June 3rd from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sunday from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. New this year, the recommendation is for a beer garden on Saturday, June 4th, from noon to 8 p.m., and Sunday from noon until 4 p.m. That would be an enclosed area up on the northern, the bottom part of the north levee, between the levee hill, if you will, and the stadium. Again, it would be, it would not be, you would not be able to wander the grounds. You'd be within the beer garden. That was a request by the Chamber and the Troy Strawberry Festival folks. The Board of Park Commissioners did recommend that it be permitted as part of the agreement. We would also recommend that the DORA would be in effect on Friday at its normal hours, which are noon until 10 p.m., but then would be suspended on Saturday so that there would not be any conflict with the beer garden and any confusion between amongst patrons thinking that, well, if they could have a DORA drink, maybe they could wander all the way up to the levee and back. That was a strong recommendation of the police chief, and the park board did agree with that recommendation. And we estimate that the additional costs to provide a 3-day event over what we always budget internally and have historically is going to be less than $10,000, which Troy Strawberry Festival annually pays that up front, and then we don't have to deal with any kind of reconciling later on. We are asking for consideration of the emergency legislation. That way, Troy Strawberry Festival can file an application for their F2 permit with the Ohio Liquor Control Division.
Okay. The only thing I have is, as I expressed once you sent out the original email about this, is Dora one day and not the other day. I think that does lead to confusion, or could lead to confusion of those that participate on Friday and/or Saturday. And I just think we either ought to have it or not have it. Those are my comments.
We will be having some additional signage, banners or what have you out there.
I understand that.
On the barricades to let people know it's there one day but not the other.
I still think it's going to lead to confusion even with those signs. Have any comments?
Mr. Rozell, I agree with you. I think when the citizens of Troy voted for Dora, they felt that it was going to be here on the weekends. And regardless of what was going on, with the beer garden being out by the football stadium in an enclosed area, and then we have the wonderful Dora signage throughout the downtown indicating where the zone is, to prevent confusion and misunderstandings. And I don't think anybody is going to say, oh yeah, if I want to get an alcoholic beverage, I'm going to go all the way out to the stadium. I'd like to have one down, just find it downtown. And so, yeah, my own mind, I think Dora should be in effect during Strawberry Festival. And if we find out we have some problems, we'll take that into consideration for next year. But I think this is something we ought to try and say. People voted for Dora because they wanted it on those days, and Saturday is one of those days, and I just think it should be, we should heed what the voters wanted and have Dora and have the Strawberry Festival and have a great time with both.
Could we hear from, because I would concur with the statements of Mr. Schilling and Mr. Rozell, but I do see the Chief of Police here. If he could provide a more rational, reasonable recommendation as to why we shouldn't do that, I would like to hear it. Otherwise, I absolutely do not think we should trample on the will of the people who voted overwhelmingly to have Dora on that weekend. Mr. McKinney?
The discussion was with the Chamber and the Festival Committee, and discussing they did not want to be responsible for policing the Dora on Saturday, and the thought that a lot of people would try to walk with Dora drinks across the bridge over to the levee, and wanting to have volunteers in that area of North Market and Water to say, please, you're leaving the Dora, you need to dispose of your drink. And so we didn't think it was fair to put that on the Strawberry Festival Committee for volunteers to do that. And that was one of the chief reasons for that. And it's just a matter of the liquor law and the way the boundaries are set up for the Dora, the amount of crowd that passes through North Market over to the other side of the levee. It's going to be very difficult to control.
I think that's part and parcel of when you voted for Dora. The Reds are a good example. They're having the opening day tomorrow. The banks will be crowded. They'll have 25% more people than normally would be there. And that's what you anticipate when you do a Dora. I would agree with Mr. Schilling. I don't know that warrants stepping on the will of the voters.
Well, I guess the one clarification I would make to your analogy is isn't the Reds opening ceremony all within a Dora?
It is within a Dora.
Okay, well, in this case, only half
But
the
the
venue,
stadium's not
one
the
of the
Dora.
venues is in the Dora, the other is not. And once you get to Red Stadium, there's plenty of security to tell you.
But the
Yeah,
other
dispose
venue,
of.
the other venue is a money-making procedure for one nonprofit in the organizational steps that is their choice to do that. And if people go there and purchase beer at the beer garden, that's certainly their prerogative. But I don't know that you trample on the Dora for
That's not that's not what I mean by the venue. I mean the whole levee and all of the booths that'll be along the levee, and folks may be thinking that they can take a Dora drink, cross the bridge, and up around the levee.
Well,
There's no
that's-
way that our police department will not be able to police that.
Well,
All I know is when I go to Minster for the Oktoberfest, and there you have a very restricted area of, where you can consume alcoholic beverages. And, there's thousands of people in Minster. For a very small town, they have a lot of people there consuming alcohol. And, they don't seem to have a problem with the, people exceeding the boundaries of the event. And again, I say we've got the Dora sign, I mean, we've got the Dora signage. Do we need some volunteers on North Market Street? Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. To say, hey, just to, stand there next to the Dora signs and say, hey, this is where it ends, And, but again, I just, I know that, we've already stated that, the public voted for Dora. They want to have it. They want to have it on the weekends, and I think this would be a great opportunity to see if it works. And I can't imagine that, the downtown businesses that supported Dora would object to it. I mean, obviously especially the facilities that are going to be selling alcohol. I mean, this would be a banner time for them to make some money on Dora. And that was the whole idea originally was, that we were going to have the downtown businesses selling the alcohol. We're going to make some money. And then, of course, the other businesses that remained open when Dora was in effect, they also felt that they would be able to make money off this thing. This is a great opportunity to make sure that they do.
Is there entertainment on the square through 9 p.m. on Saturday?
there's nothing Entertainment Square on Saturday.
Yes, there's some, yes.
There'll be entertainment on the square through 9 p.m. Saturday, right?
I'm not sure when the cutoff is, but.
Yeah, but there is local.
Local bands, yeah. I mean, I don't want to create a precedent, then when do you stop it? Goba's not going to, do it when,
I mean, the other alternative, I'm sorry, but the other alternative that was mentioned both times it was presented before us is we could suspend Dora for certain events. I don't know what events were targeted to be suspended or not suspended. I mean, if it's going to be such a security problem, that's our other option, to not have it, period.
It is. The reason that Dora was going to be open on Friday and not have a beer garden on Friday is everything is going to be focused downtown because it is technically the Strawberry Jam like we did last year. It's the next day, and I don't want, to Mr. Schilling's comment, I don't want to trivialize the extremely difficult job it is not only to get enough volunteers, but to get volunteers that are strong enough to stop somebody who's going across the bridge or going across Water Street and telling them, no, you have to dump this out. The people are not always voluntarily accommodating in those circumstances. And that's not a job that a lot of volunteers
So the
will
volunteers
return
on
to.
Friday would be at Water Street?
I'm
If
sorry?
they're going back to their parking on the ball fields, telling them to dump it and you're leaving the district?
They,
Or are we going to have the same issue Friday night when people are leaving downtown?
The signage will be in place, and the plan is to, basically the festival on Friday night will end at North Market and Water. So hopefully the signage will be enough in place for people to realize that they're leaving the Dora. However, on Saturday, because if we have this split venue, people may not realize that they're leaving the Dora when they cross the bridge because of the size of the crowds. And it's just a matter of, we don't want to issue people citations. We would prefer to give warnings, especially with the newness of the Dora. But there's just a concern that there will be so many people that miss those signs in those crowds on Saturday that it will basically be overwhelming.
Yeah, but your concern is over the bridge, right, primarily? So you can put trash cans right there with signage that says this is the end of Dora. I mean, I don't know, I think we're overthinking something that the voters voted for, and we gotta give it a try. That's the purpose of having the Dora. If we have problems, then obviously we can address, but I would err on the side of trying it first instead of anticipating problems.
And I believe that was kind of the discussion that was had on Friday, is Friday will be kind of our trial of the Dora with the Strawberry Festival in the same venue.
My thoughts are.
But it's not, because you're gonna have, the next day, you're gonna double the venue. So you're really only testing downtown, which is the normal Dora parameters anyway. Mr. Whitten?
We are, excuse me, Jeff, but we are, except, we always had this question about the Dora and the Strawberry Festival, only because that is our single biggest event of the year. So Friday night is a test of the Troy Strawberry Festival on the night that it was fairly successful last year. We anticipate that it'll probably be, hopefully, just as successful this year. And so we will be dealing with our biggest Dora event that evening. And to stretch that out over 2 days, including Saturday, because the Dora is not in effect on Sunday, we felt like, and the Chamber and the Strawberry Festival Committee agreed, might be pressing the issue quite a bit.
Jeff?
Keith McKay, Mr. Chairman. I know it's still new, but the early preliminary results have been from the Dora that we haven't seen much ticketing or enforcement issues so far. And it's still early, and data is limited, but there hasn't been, and I know we'll have an influx of perhaps out-of-town folks who might not know the rules, but so far there hasn't been an issue with folks, as far as we know, breaking the rules, and that hasn't come about yet. I know the concern might be that they might step out, but so far, the Dora hasn't had any major problems as far as I'm concerned.
That's true, but I would go back to what you just said about the customers, the visitors, the attendees. It is much, much more than Troy residents on Saturdays and Sundays of the festival. That was another reason why we felt a lot more comfortable keeping the Dora open on Friday night, because being that it's at end of the week and it's an evening, Friday evening, if it's like last year, it was, there was a much higher percentage of local folks. It's the Saturday and Sunday where they come from the south and north and everywhere.
And we trust them to follow the law.
Mr. Pierce?
What would be the additional cost to have 2 or 3 officers help out on the bridge with the volunteers just to help enforce the rule?
Well, I think we're running into where we would have to ask for outside help. We generally have 8 officers assigned to the Strawberry Festival events through Saturday and Sunday for the entire hours of the festival. And because of the Dora was going to be open on Friday, we were also going to assign 8 officers to the Friday night events. That is something that once we would address adding 2 or 3 officers to the Saturday event, we would have to present those costs to the Strawberry Festival, is my understanding. So.
Mr. Phillips?
Thank you, sir. First of all, has Troy Main Street spoken out pro or con in supporting the lifting of suspending of the Dora for the Saturday?
My discussions with Andrea, they did not express any concerns with that.
None of the other businesses that have had a strong opinion about it. I know that.
I've not heard any feedback.
Okay. I do know that originally, during many of the discussions, that it was always pointed out that there were going to be some potential suspensions of the Dora, and I would have assumed, even though we didn't have a list, that the Troy Strawberry Festival would be one, and for several reasons that the chief is outlining. However, on the pro side of keeping the Dora in place, it's always been my thought that the voters did vote and support the law. And so far, from my outside of Troy experience and inside of Troy experience, has been very positive that people are obeying our rules and other rules. So I think that we had an opportunity last year for our trial year, but this is our trial year. And I can fully support the position of keeping the DORA in place, and I know that may cost the chamber some financial gain on that, but I think that's where I'm at the moment.
Anybody else? Mrs. Marshall?
So I guess I'm just thinking that normally.
Yeah, come up to the microphone.
So normally the signage that's out is considered sufficient. So I just don't understand, is it just, why wouldn't it be considered sufficient for this as well?
Because there will be so many people, and there will be so many from out of town.
But
that
we're
may
expecting
not
the
know.
out-of-towners to pay attention to that signage on a regular basis anyway.
Right.
I mean, I understand that you're saying there's gonna be more people, and they might be difficult to see. Can we put some bigger signs?
Yeah.
Or, I mean,
We will probably add some supplemental signs if that's what the council desires, if they don't want to suspend the DORA. We will definitely put our heads together and get some more messaging out there.
and I don't know, what about auxiliary officers?
We don't have very significant showing of auxiliary officers. It's a pretty depleted unit right
Is it?
now.
I was just curious.
So, and the nonprofit that's benefiting from the alcohol sales during the weekend is the chamber, correct?
Yes.
Not from the DORA, but from their.
From the beer garden, yeah.
If I may, Mr.
Anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anything else? Thank you.
Mr. Phillips?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I don't know what you're individually thinking, but my suggestion is that if you do have a consensus on the group, that all of these conditions, with the exception of the DORA, be in your recommendation going forward, if it's a positive one or negative one. That's the only suggestion I might
I think that probably beats what we're thinking.
No, I would agree that we adopt the recommendations as stated with the exception of paragraph number, no, they're not numbered, but the second to the last paragraph.
Sixth bullet.
Dealing
The
with DORA.
sixth bullet,
Dealing with
dealing with DORA.
Yeah. I think we can move forward on that. And we need emergency legislation on this, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
So it is unanimous committee to move forward with the exception of the DORA clause with emergency. And is it coming back with some amendment to DORA, or we're just doing without DORA, or?
We just want to deal
Or-
with
No,
it.
it just would not be included in the
We just want to
legislation.
suspend.
Okay, so that means DORA would be in effect as it normally would be for the hours that,
Friday from noon to 10 and Saturday from noon to 10.
If council approves.
yeah, if we approve. And just off the thing, what potentially were the ideas when we talked about potentially suspending DORA? What event would that be?
Oh, it could, well, the Troy Strawberry Festival was one that we were just kind of wondering about. Another one that we've had in the past that could ask to suspend would be the Pink Ribbon Girls annual event that they do downtown.
Well, they have their own beer garden.
Well, if we pass a legislation like this, they do.
Correct, they would
Right.
need notwithstanding legislation like Strawberry Festival. Another one that may or may not, we don't know, or I don't know anyway, is the, it's the Tour de Donut, that's the one, yeah. For a Saturday event. GOBA, I don't know that
No, we're
we're
not-
planning on
not
doing
changing
anything
anything for
special
Dover.
there.
They like to drink.
The other, to your point about Pink Ribbon Girls, that they would have a beer garden that would be within the Dora district though, and you cannot do
Correct.
that, is that correct?
You have to do one or the other.
If we will, yeah.
But that's their major fundraiser.
Yeah.
I understand that you cannot have the beer garden.
So
within
so that
the
makes
Dora.
sense to
That's-
suspend Dora
yeah, right.
during that
So either
time.
suspend Dora or let
Right.
them cut a deal
Right.
to make money off of alcohol sales
Yeah.
with the businesses. Okay, thank you. Is that anything else coming before us?
No, sir.
The Community Partnerships Committee is adjourned.